up under father sky's open heart. Golden hair is spun into the lightning whisper to the stars. I turn my eyes into windows to wildflowers, white and black holes. The light meeting in my middle, between two worlds, the pattern move. A pattern grows into a map. How many times I take this path, woven with the vine, walking the red road alive. Jackie, I be the Maya. Jackie, I be the Maya. Jackie, I be the Maya. Flash of light and open sky, awareness seeing eye to eye. A quilt holding the silence of 1,000 rays streaming through time. I reach out my hand to feel the four winds that turn the wheel. The light meeting in my middle, between two worlds, the pattern move. A pattern grows into a map. How many times I take this path, how many times I peel it back. Still the story stays intact. Free my heart of hearts. Mystery of love, don't go she love. Jackie, I be the Maya. Jackie, I be the Maya. Jackie, I be the Maya. Feel my head, feel my head, feel my head. Feel my head, feel my head, feel my
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in. How's it going? I hope you all had a wonderful week. I got Uncle Pa here on the podcast with me. Unc was good.
What's going on, nephew? Yoko. Hey, what's happening, sis?
Yoko Nibi. Let's see. Oh, that's the controls. She ain't hop on yet. That's the
Okay.
controls. So today, hey Shayla, what's going on? Peace, Uncle Aunt, much love. Thank you for showing, thank you for support. Both of you. Um, y'all know we get right into class. Today's class is called or titled Mitochondrial DNA and Matrilineal Clans. Um, excuse me. We teach this, right? We teach this science. It's an ancient science. It's something that the ancients understood. And oftentimes, many things that predate us, that our ancestors put in place, are denied by those that don't know. Um, and all of us, all of you all watching, have some form of admixture. The two of us that are on the camera or on the screen, we also have admixture. There's no problem with it. We never had a problem with it. When people or two different groups of people meet each other, um, besides war, the thing they do the most is they have sex, right? They mate with each other, they trade with each other, they do business. Now, um, there was a post on Instagram that was dealing with Top Cat. I know a lot of you are subscribers to Big Chief Top Cats. And someone posted a video and say, well, he's an African because his grandmother's grandmother or his mother's great grandmother, however it goes, uh, is mixed with African. So I attempted to explain to the person what's really what um, and how this goes. And I'll go over these comments to set the foundation. This is basically setting the foundation. And then we'll get into um, the build. Hold on, it's not okay. For some reason, they're giving us a short screen. Um, Let me see if this pop up real quick. Um, let's see. Let me give it a couple seconds to see if it'll pop up. Hmm. I sent you the I text you the link, cuz if I ain't mistaken. All right, so they not allowing me to screen share the Facebook. Let me try this again. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. This picture isn't popping up on the screen, huh, Pa? Can you hear me? Okay, so being that the picture's not popping up, um, I'll read it. And it is what it is. You all could go on my Facebook and find these comments. So I comment to the guy, said, well, Top Cat said his grandmother is mixed with, this is the key. He says, meaning his ancestors are black, trying to seem as if he's an Indian when we can all see black phenotype. If he admits his eldest maternal matriarch is African, then he's already debunked his bullshit claim of coming from the soil of America. Know what you're arguing. This man claims multi-regional hypothesis. So I say facts, dealing with if his maternal or oldest matriarch is African, then that's what he would be. But I say, he's speaking on his mother's second great grandmother or his grandmother. Though I am not a subscriber of his, I am so too against the out of Africa theory. Now, I say the question should be, being that she lived with Africans or have African ancestry, is it her mother or her father that is the African? He said, well, you have to ask him because he blocked me. I say, fair enough. But I have to ask you, being that you made this post. He says it wouldn't matter. He recognized she was a female, which means that X chromosome is carried on, which is right. But I'm going to show you how he flips it when it starts to work in this guy's favor. So I say, if her father is African, I have news for you. Then she's whatever her mother is. He says, nice hypothetical reach. Y'all be so desperate, it's sad. He said can tell real life issues for y'all wanting to escape. Happy healing. I say that's literally how the clan system went for those of matriarchal or matrilineal clans. Many indigenous people of the 1800s have African fathers, but their mother's blood is what afforded them clanship. He says, it's not about clans or dates, it's biological. I say clans are biological. My grandmother or my matrilineal grandmother is Ibaa, her clan Nupetu. This means that I'm Nupetu by blood. But hey, who am I? He said, y'all are conflating tribes, clans, and lineages with bio, excuse me, and lineages with biology. That's not how science works. Is our lineages not biogenetic? We're talking about biology. We're talking about descendancy. So I say, Negi, you though are confused about how clans, bands, and tribes are created. You don't know how they work. He said, let's see. He said they are not permeant as having nothing to do with any form of genetic metric. You're shifting the goalposts. Continue this conversation. So what you're saying here is false. It has everything to do with genetics. If his mother's grandmother's was Wolf Clan and she married an African man from whatever tribe, these children would be Wolf Clan. This is fairly simple. He says, find anywhere, he says, find, excuse me, find where clans, tribes, and or race is mentioned in science. They are obviously not biological subjects for me to even be responding. Here's my final response. I say, boy, are you wrong. I gave him three different articles that tied clans into biology. And it's been 3 days since he responded. So now class can officially begin. Today, we're going to dive into mitochondrial DNA and its connection to matrilineal clan systems amongst indigenous people. Now, matrilineal societies where lineage and inheritance were traced through the mother's line, were the foundation of many Southeastern tribes. But how do genetics back up these traditions? What does DNA reveal about indigenous migrations, trade networks, and cultural endurance in the face of colonialization? And I have my notes and my paper here, and we'll be going over a few references and sources later. So we will discuss one, what is mitochondrial DNA and why it matters? Two, how matrilineal clans function in Southeastern tribes. Three, genetic evidence connecting these societies to the broader Americas. Four, how colonization disrupted but did not erase indigenous matrilineal lineage. And five, the modern legacy of these matrilineal traditions. See if I can pull up this PDF. I hope
Nephew.
they not talk to me.
And it was so funny is that he need to go watch the video with Credo Mutua when Credo Mutua broke it down how the tribal and clan system was actually matriarchal over there in Africa as well before it became patriarchal.
Right. You got to send that to me because that's actually fact too. Let's see if I can bring this down. It's something going on with the laptop. It's not letting me share the screen. Hmm. This is interesting. This is interesting. It's not letting me share the screen for some reason. Uh, hmm. This is interesting. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see what I could do about this. Hold on. Let me see. Let me let cuz in. All right. Yeah, for some reason, it's not letting me share my screen today. This shit is weird. That's what I was thinking about restarting. I might have to restart. I
Okay,
might have to restart the live. Give me 1 second, real quick.
okay.
Mm, this is interesting. This is interesting. Ay, ay, ay. Hold on. Because I have everything up and ready, but they won't let me put it up. Let me see something. Okay, we're gonna allow. All right, let's try this again. Uh, let me see if I could bring this to the screen. All right. Hmm. What I might have to do is I might have to save it. Okay, perfect. Let me see if I can pull it up as a PDF. Um, let's see. Let's see.
I just sent it to your phone, nephew.
All right. Mm, mm, mm. Let me see. Bring this down. See who do we got in here? Hold on, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, because they doing me wrong right now. Let me hop back in. I'm gonna close down and hop back in. Hold up. And if it don't work, what I'll do is I just restart it and send the link back out. I really don't want to. Why is this shit doing this today? Let's see. Peace. What the players brought. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right, we're gonna try this one last time, and if not, I'll drop the link to migrate to, or I'll just drop the what's the names later. I showed all the references I'm gonna use anyway. I'll just have to show them later. Why is this shit looking like this? Uh, hold up. Hold up. Let's see. And I'm gonna add them to stage. There we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I'm sharing my whole screen. Can y'all can see my screen and shit, right, Paul? We good?
Yeah, you can see it.
All right, perfect. So I'm gonna just share my whole screen. So let's talk about it. What is mitochondrial DNA? Now, you all can read the screen as I continue. That way your eyes don't get bored. But to understand the power of mitochondrial DNA, let's break down what makes it unique. Unlike nuclear DNA, which is inherited from both parents, mitochondrial DNA is passed down exclusively from the mother to her children, unchanged except for occasional mutations. Now, what do you mean by occasional mutations, Wale Origins? In fact, there are times where fathers pass down the mitochondrial DNA they've got from their mothers onto their daughters. So that's a genetic mutation that we can talk about for another time. That is outside. That is the exception. But the rule is that mitochondrial DNA is passed or inherited from the offspring, to the offspring from their mother. Now, this means that your mitochondrial DNA essentially is a direct link to your maternal ancestors, stretching back thousands of years. Scientists use mitochondrial DNA to trace lineage, migration patterns, and genetic connections between ancient and modern populations. For indigenous groups with strong matrilineal traditions, this is especially important. Southeastern tribes such as the Wali, the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Muskogee, and Yama followed a matrilineal system where clan identity, leadership, and inheritance came from the mother side. So, what happens when we compare oral history and cultural traditions with genetic evidence? We get a powerful combination of indigenous knowledge. Now, I'm going to read from a book, I'm going to read from a text. And this book is it's fucking crazy. I flipped it right to one of the pages I planned on reading. But this is the Yamasee Indians. I often reference this book. But on page 164, it says maternal uncles instructed their nephews in hunting, martial arts, and politicking. Mothers and maternal aunts instructed girls in agriculture, domestic arts, and family governance. Now, it then goes on to explain the link between the matrilineal systems and these different indigenous people. And it says a Yamasee man with a Wali wife can still be the last of the Yamasee. Why is this? It's because the bloodline for indigenous people is traced through who? The mother. So for a guy to tell me the clan system has nothing to do with genetics when it has everything to do with genetics and mitochondrial DNA, this guy is wrong. But he'll hop on the internet and tell you that you're African simply because you have admixture. But when we talk about Africans and admixture, or when we talk about the clan system, he says clan system has nothing to do with genetics. But isn't this the same guy that said, well, if his grandma's African, she passes on the X, that means they're African? This is what he said. But when I show him, hey, you right, and that's the same thing for the Americas, it becomes, or he tries to argue until I show him actual scientific research. So let's talk about comparisons between mitochondrial DNA and NRY. See, it was possible to establish if there was sex-based gene flow among those populations. These populations they're talking about are the Gullah and populations from the Caribs and South America. Now, this PDF is called Out of Florida, examining the South American model of archaic Caribbean settlement. I have this in front of me on this screen. I'll show it. So this is what you're looking at on the screen. I'm not going to argue from a PDF, right? So they established that there was a consistent gene flow over time into the Gullah population and ongoing relationship between Native and African groups. Then it requires establishing potential relationships between other populations in the Caribbean, which might clarify a pattern or indicate an area of influence. Several studies have confirmed there's a high degree of admixture between Caribbean populations of both European and Native lineages. This is gonna blow the roof off the shit. We're talking about mitochondrial DNA. So we're dealing with the lineage of a woman. This is a woman that we're talking about. So consistent with the findings was E.J. Pereira. Now people talk about Jews, but this is a Jew that found in the Gullah population, quote, with respect to the Native American influence, there is evidence of female Native American contribution in these South American populations. Now, they only tested a handful, And in these handful, they found haplogroups A, B, C, and D, and they also found X. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So, what are key features of the matrilineal clan system? Now, key features in the matrilineal clan system: clan membership, a child inherited their clan from their mother; leadership and governance, women played central roles in decision making. In some societies, clan mothers chose and or advised chiefs on how to manage their resources. Marriage and alliances. The rule was you had to marry outside of your clan, and this built alliances between these different clans. Why did you have to marry outside of your clan? Because genetically, everybody in your clan is considered what? Your family, right? That's your mother, your auntie, all your auntie babies, and your grandma and her sisters and all their babies. That's your clan. That's genetic. That's mitochondrial DNA. So again, for a Negro to tell you, oh, you African because you have admixture, but he's not talking about the science, or he doesn't know the science, then you have to interrogate that Negro. You have to interrogate that Negro. Now, genetic evidence, and this is segment 3. So genetic evidence of Southeastern matrilineal heritage. Mitochondrial DNA analysis in indigenous populations of the southeastern United States has revealed clear evidence of maternal continuity. Researchers have identified several mitochondrial DNA or mitochondrial haplogroups, genetic markers that trace ancient lineage, present in both historic and modern indigenous communities. These key haplogroups are A, B, C, and D, and X. A is found amongst the Muskogee-speaking tribes and the Gullah people of South Carolina, showing a deep maternal ancestry. Is this something we haven't talked about? The migration of the Muskogee coming in and mixing with those women already in the East? Or haplogroup B, present in southeastern populations, but also found in the Caribbean and parts of South America, hinting at a migration and trade. So haplogroup B is found in southeastern Americans, but it's also found in the Caribs and South America. So what they're mapping in this study is the migrations of people from North America into the Caribs, then into South America, as opposed to the what you're usually taught of the Siberians coming down and going down into South America while spreading out east. Two completely different things, right? Now, haplogroup C and D. These are linked to Muskogean groups, but they show connections to Mesoamerica, being that the original Muskogee come from where? Mesoamerica. And last but not least, haplogroup X. Now, this is less common, but it's still found in southeastern groups, possibly reflecting ancient cross-continental migrations, which we've also spoken about. Peace, Brandon, what's going on? P, what's good, brother? I'm glad you watching. I'm glad you watching. Bro been with me for 10 plus years. So all my work, bro always supported. Much love. Rahul Bat family, what's going on? Dom, what's good? Got to give a shout out to everybody in the comments. If you are watching, please leave a like on the video right now. It helps the video get notarized or get noticed, excuse me. So please do that for me. Now, let's continue. What's fascinating is how mitochondrial DNA links southeastern tribes to other indigenous groups in the Americas. And the Gullah people, often thought as African descendant groups, actually show maternal ancestry in their, or native maternal ancestry in their mitochondrial DNA, which proves a few things that we've been speaking about over the years. We don't deny the transatlantic slave trade. However, we don't agree with the numbers that they told. We know there are different groups of Africans brought over here because our traditions also started to change slightly. Our wardrobe started to change slightly. But this was at the hands of the warriors. These were the men. These men weren't mixing with European women. They were dealing with the women that were already here. These men didn't have to just go out and find women because there were search parties that needed these men to assist in their nation building. So while the Gullah, the Wali, the Yamasi were considered Negroes or dead because they fought against the United States government, genetics, mitochondrial DNA, or the matrilineal clan system proves that these people are well and alive. Like the Yamasi and the Wali, they have genetic connections to South America and Caribbean groups supporting oral histories. The Yama tell a story that they come from the cane thicket. And this is them coming out of South America and migrating to different parts of the world. But the Wali too have a story of coming off the coast and migrating down and out into the Americas. So in the ancient world, these people understood how to trace their lineage. In the modern world, science do the same thing when it comes to your fucking DNA test, dagger. But you didn't know who you were talking to. You didn't know who you were talking to. You didn't know who you were talking to. They have DNA tests specifically to trace your clans. They have DNA tests specifically to trace your clans. Now you can say, well, it's right or it's wrong. They're simply looking at your mitochondrial DNA. Or if you're a male, they're looking at you know what. Now you can find them in Europe, Asia, or Africa. But what about your paternal clan? Take this DNA clan test today to find out. So there are ways that you can trace your lineage. We're going to continue, right? Which says the basic test is HBR1 that enables to match a person to a relevant haplogroup, i.e., maternal clan. The clan system is definitely based on genetics. Spiritual, so unseen, and those seen when spirit becomes animal and or animated, right? And you can look and say, well, that baby walk like, that baby talk like, that baby do this just like. That's genetic, brother. You didn't know who you were talking to. So this genetic evidence contradicts old migration models that assumed all Native American populations moved from north to south. But instead, we see a complex, interconnected world of trade, movement, and cultural exchange between the Southeast, the Caribbean, and South America. The part four, the impact of colonization on matrilineal systems. If you have any questions, please drop those questions in the comments. I really don't like doing classes when I'm just talking and no one is asking questions. It low-key make me want to cut it short. And that'll the Q&A part. But the impact matrilineal systems came under attack. Colonizers imposed patrilineal laws, disrupted traditional governance, and forced indigenous women into servitude. So let's talk about these disruptions. We have the European legal system, which is male dominant, and inheritance laws erase women's political power. What do I mean by that? I'll use the Wali, for example. I'll speak on this tomorrow on the Southeastern Talking Stick podcast. Um, when the Spaniards came in, they didn't respect the fact that women had the voice. They didn't respect the matrilineal clan system. So what they would do is they would write as if the men and the women, or the man and his sister, were mating with each other in clan, and that their child was supposed to be the next chief. They were calling the men uncle fathers, but they meant it in a derogatory way, as opposed to calling your uncle your second dad, meaning that my sister had you, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to raise you and teach you how to be the man that this family needs you to be. Yes, I have my own children, but I'm closer to you than I am to my own children, because you and I have the same mitochondrial DNA. This is how the clan system works. This is science. Now, forced removal and assimilation. Policies like the Trail of Tears broke apart clan structures. And what they did was made a lot of these patrilineal or patriarchal. So now European men are signing treaties. European men are signing, they're putting all this stuff into order because they gave themselves the power to do so. When in reality, it was the mothers that were the policy writers, right? Boarding schools and Christianity. So we can talk about enslavement, we could talk about Indian schools, and we can talk about the church. All of these things force children to abandon their clan identities. This is an actual fact. Even after this, these bloodlines still persist. So we're still going, right? With all of this, your mother is still alive. Her mother birthed her, so that means she existed, which means you still have your clan, because it's not a social structure. It's genetic outside of what they attempted to teach. Now, blood quantum laws also replaced the clan system, as the United States government attempted to justify this with the blood quantum. So, well, my mom is European. My mom is European. My dad is indigenous. I don't have a clan. So I'm going to go to the government and I'm going to say, well, shit, I'm more Indian than that nigga over there, because, see, he got 1% in Negro blood. So he's a Negro, regardless of what a Negro was at that time. And, you know, my great great grandma was an Indian. So I gotta this is what European men did. This is what blood quantum laws did. Now, the legacy, let's talk about the legacy. The Gullah and the Seminole communities maintain cultural practices and genetic ties to their indigenous ancestors. Indigenous women's leadership is being restored in modern tribal governance, with many tribes reaffirming traditional matrilineal roles. Genetic research and DNA tests have allowed indigenous descendants to reconnect with their lost family ties and traditions. And for indigenous people today, mitochondrial DNA is more than just science, it's proof of survival. It confirms what oral traditions have always known, that indigenous mothers and grandmothers carried their peoples through centuries of change, keeping their cultures alive against all odds. So, my closing thoughts and actions. Uh, Closing thoughts. Mitochondrial DNA offers us an unbroken link to the past, one that aligns us with indigenous oral histories and challenges of colonial narratives. By understanding and replacing these maternal bloodlines, or excuse me, respecting these maternal bloodlines, we gain a deeper insight into the resilience of indigenous Southeastern people. Now, what references were used today? We went over a few sites, but my favorite will always be out of Florida, examining the South American model of the archaic Caribbean settlement. Another reference would be this text, The Invention of the Creek Nation. This would be a good text too, um, because it explains things um, that many need. We'll talk about, let's say, for instance, the clan system, or it explains that the Muskogee they migrate. It explains that they migrated from the west also. But I'll read this page. This page is, excuse me, this page is page 25, chapter one. So it's chapter one, page 25. Um, and it's talking about clan systems. So it says, just as the towns and their associated rituals became more important in historic Creek culture, the Mississippian collapse appears to have led to the elaboration of the clan system. Do you all not remember me saying, when the Mississippian era collapsed, the Muskogee began to adopt the clan system? They were originally a patrilineal people. So when these men started mixing with these other women, their children became a part of a clan system that was already ancient. So let's continue. It says the Creeks reckoned kinship according to matrilineal rules, whereby a child assumed the clan affiliation of his or her mother. In a matrilineal system, the child's biological father was not looked upon as a blood relative and played less of a role in preparing his child for adulthood. Young Creek boys were instead often prepared for adulthood by their mother's brother, clan uncles, who gave instruction, meted out discipline, and likely educated the youngster in the tales of his ancestors' exploits. A Creek girl, likewise, would have been instructed in female responsibilities by her mother, her related aunts, and other female kin. Clan affiliation was of utmost importance to the Creeks because clan membership gave an individual his or her identity, determined who that person could marry, dictated ceremonial obligations, and in the case of male clan members, determined who he was obligated to defend or revenge in the times of war. Let's talk about it. Because Creeks typically labored together in small kinship units, clan membership determined which agricultural fields one could cultivate and influenced the makeup of hunting parties. Because the Creeks typically invested individual clans with particular political titles, which clans guarded, which clans guarded as a kind of property. Clan affiliation was often determined which political offices an individual was eligible to hold through the course of his or her life. So you wouldn't have sex with your cousin, right? That's your cousin, clan. But you wouldn't have sex with her because you're related. Talking about DNA. So for someone to say that, well, these things don't go hand in hand, he needs to simply sit down and be a student. Let's see what the Cherokee have to say about the situation. What do the Cherokee have to say about the situation? Okay, perfect. Page 9, and this is the rise and fall of the Cherokee Nation. It says, a Cherokee boy living in a town was not taught by his father. He was taught by the other men of his town, particularly his mother's brother. It was through the mother that he gained clan identity, which afforded him citizenship. It was through the mother that he gained clan identity. We're talking about mitochondrial DNA. Any questions? Because that's class. Do we have any questions? And how did y'all like the topic? Can I get some form of feedback? I got a few of y'all in here. Can I get some form of feedback? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see where we at. Paul, you still in here? And then let me drop this link. I'm gonna put this link in the chat if anybody would like to join. Let's see. So I'll sit here for 4 minutes. I'm gonna let Little Well take over. And if we have no questions, that is the class for me today. That would be the whole session. So 5 minute break, and we can get a reset. And if we do have questions, we'll start there. So go ahead and use the bathroom for those 5 minutes. Grab you a snack or something. We'll be right back.
Following the sound of wings under these cedar canopies, exhaling the trees, they ring their echo to a silver stream. I turn my eyes into windows to wildflowers, white and black holes. Turn my eyes into windows to wildflowers, white and black holes. Letting it fall together. I'm letting go for once forever. Following this map under other sky is open heart. Golden hair is spun into the lightning whisper to the stars. I turn my eyes into windows to wildflowers, white and black holes. The light meeting in my middle between two worlds. The pattern move, a pattern grows into a map. How many times I take this path, woven with the vine, walking the red road.
Okay, so I'm back. I was going through this article, but I'll post this article on my Facebook if you are a follower on Facebook. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go early. Seems like I had another good class because I really didn't get any questions. Except for one, right? I was about to take off. Guess we got one now. So it says, my question is, when you said that the blood father was not looked at as a family member due to the mother's clan, does that mean these children were raised to only be members of their, of course, we had, if those of you who are followers of the page, you understand the social society. The social society simply means that you would get your status from your father, but your clan, your family was your mother's family. So he says, I'm trying to keep up on the, okay, let's see, I'm not, yeah, no, why would he? It's like, what, I understand what's going on. It's the modern mind attempting to understand what's ancient, right? So, yeah, okay, well, damn, he is mother's family. Does he not ever see his father? No, he sees his father. If his father was a warrior, he's supposed to become a warrior. If his father was a politician, he'd be a politician. If his father was a trader, he'd be a trader. But his bloodline, we're talking bloodline, would be his mother's family. For me to make it simple would be to take away from it. It can be complicated, but to keep it as is, you are your mother's child. As they say, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Simple. You knew who your mother was. If you was the chief, every bitch, excuse me, every bitch would say, that's my baby daddy. If you were a wise man, every lady would say, that's my baby daddy. How do you combat that? If you aren't in the house with your sisters, or if you aren't taking care of your sisters, and you leaning on the nigga, she chose to take care of your sister, and you know how niggas do women, then obviously you would raise your sister's children as your own. This is why the brothers or the uncles stayed in the homes with their sisters, their nieces, and their mothers and aunts. They defended their own. So, what does it mean if I'm indigenous and I have a white lady, a white wife, a white baby mama? Then your children wouldn't be afforded towards the indigenous. They wouldn't have any rights to the clan system. Their mother has a clan. This is what mitochondrial DNA or the connection between the two is all about. That is what the initial bill was about. Everybody has X chromosome. Everybody has mitochondrial DNA. And we talked about the exception to the rule, which does not make the rule, are those women that carry their mitochondrial DNA today, which was passed down from their father's mother. This is still matrilineal because if he had no women in his clan, his oldest daughter would be taken into his clan, which would make her technically his clan mother and rightfully so. Let's see. Are there ever situations where the mother's clan, the child belongs to the clan? I can't get any more straightforward than that. the child belongs to the clan. You, I can't get any more straightforward than that. It's not beautiful. I can't give you pretty words, and I'm not going to give you pretty words to, I can't do that. What I can do is give it to you straightforward. If the child belonged to the clan and he belonged to his mother, and his clan uncles were seen as his fathers, then why would they reject their baby for somebody who they don't even see as family?
Nephew, you
This
know
is the
what's so funny?
village. Talk to me, huh?
You know what's so funny? The Europeans in them now begin to start showing that because dealing with children case law and everything with child support, you have states that's called the mother state, meaning that the child belonged to the mother.
But hold that right there. My town is older than your town, or my town, you left my town and you got the right to create a new town. You would call my town what? Grandma.
Right,
That's the grandmother town.
right.
This is the same thing in the lodge. A duly and regularly constituted lodge is a subordinate to who? The fucking Grand Lodge.
The Grand Lodge, which is the mother lodge.
Thank you. Or grandma. Because your lodge is mama, or would be considered, this is where I was birthed at. But that big woman up there, that birthed everything under it. Everything under that is subordinate to that. This is what we're talking about.
That's why we say, "What's your mama name and how old is she?"
Facts. Peace. On to be completely honest, I'm gonna need you to go back to the first 45 minutes of the video where I explained that adequately. Because I wish not to. I don't want to detail it. So again, fuck it. I'll just keep it straightforward. How did the maternal clan and mitochondrial DNA play on the social migration patterns? So again, something that was spoken that we talked about already is dealing with how the Gullah population and populations in the southeastern United States um, have a connection to those in the Caribs and in South America. However, those that are in South America are isolate, meaning that they never left South America to populate the Caribs, nor did they leave to populate the southeast of what's considered North America. However, there's still a matrilineal genetic connection, which again is a woman. This haplogroup happens to be haplogroup B, C, and D. Now, B, C, and D show the merger between the people coming out of Mesoamerica and those that were in the Southeast. Haplogroup A shows the first group that left and came over, excuse me, the base group that left and mixed in during the historic era. So that would be A. B and C would be those who have a more southern Mesoamerica origin that came up through the Caribs and came over through the Gulf. Pa, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm talking about your tribal nation. So when these people came up, now we have three groups. They mix with these people in the Southeast. What it's showing is all of their matrilineal lineage is connected to women that are Wale. So again, as we've explained, or as I've explained through migration stories, creation stories, and history, when these men came across, their children fell under the structure of their mothers. This is why there's a matrilineal connection. This is why there are mitochondrial connections between all of these people. So when you say or that's my family, and you're Yama today, what you have to understand is your mother Yama or is your father Yama? Because if your mother is Yama and the clan and their system was originally patrilineal, then you wouldn't be a part of your mother's clan. You would be a part of your father's clan, which means that you aren't Wali, you aren't Abala or Abalachi Kola, right? You aren't Yuba'a, but you are Yama. Now, if you are Yama today and your mother is Wali, then rightfully so, you are Wali. You're Wale. That is what you are. You would be a part of that clan system. If your father is Wali and your mother is Yama, then you have no clan. Listen to what I'm telling you. If your mother is Yama and your father is Wali, you have no clan. Oh my God, Wale Origin said, I have no clan. What does he mean? Being that your mother's clan would come from her father, and that's not your daddy, you ain't got no clan over there. And being that your daddy clan system is matrilineal, you ain't got no clan over there. But there were ways, because you were genetically related to your father's clan, that your auntie can take you in as her baby, and then your father raised you, not simply as his son, but also as his nephew. This is what confused Europeans. This is what confused Europeans. So that's social and migration patterns on how the lineage works. But it's science. This is a topic we talk about on the phone. I don't come on the net and talk about it because shit is really for us. But it's a lot of you that need this. It's a lot of you that need this. And if you are tuning in or just tuned in, you have to go back and watch the first 45 minutes. If not, what I'm saying is gonna be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Nah, go hear the first 45 minutes and hear it in the structure and see the reading and how it's put together. Let's see. Let's see. So these are the haplogroups which were found in the Low Country. Again, there weren't a hell of a people tested, um, but what they do also says that over 50% of basically like the childbirthing rate dropped over 50%. That was interesting, right? That was definitely interesting. But the tie or the genetic link, again, I'll end it with this. Simply because you have admixture doesn't mean that you are African. That's European, right? It's European thought. And just because you do have admixture, or you may feel like you don't because you haven't found an ancestor documented on the paper. You know, if you don't have admixture, that means you inbred. I'll end it with that. If you don't have I won't. If you don't have admixture, you're inbred. Two, the matrilineal clan system has everything to do with genetics. And three, if you're just tuning in, go back and watch the first 45 minutes. Much love. Love y'all. Peace.